Hey, it's Derick Gant, 24K Life Podcast, and I'm telling you, this is going to be off the chain because we already started just flying. And if you can't tell, you can take a look at my man. You can see that he is a hustler. I'm telling you, we're going to set this off. I just feel it. I just feel it. We never even talked before, and I know we're going to hook this up. I got Dr. Pradeep, and he is going to let us know how to be a baller like him. Go ahead and lay it out for us, man. I just want to hear it all.
Thank you, money mentor Derick. It's been great. I'll tell you, I'll set the scene. I was actually going to be at home or the office and talk to you. Then I got a call from an investor saying, I just flew in. I've got a 2-hour window. Do you want to meet? I'm like, I think Derick's the kind of man who gets this hustle. So I'm literally in the back of the S-Class, my S-Class, with a with a mic and a 4K camera. I'm going to talk to you.
Right. And that's why I did it. When you showed me the microphone, like, dude, I was prepared no matter what. I'm like, okay, we just going to roll. But so go ahead.
So, yeah. So I look, to lay it out to the people, I do this because it's been an extraordinary 37 years on this planet. And I'm very grateful for it. And I want to reach as many people as I can and try to help as many people I can do from my background. So really why I do this is obviously I'm a businessman now, but I actually started in life. My family were migrants from Sri Lanka. We lost all our assets during the war in northern Sri Lanka. My mom had to smuggle me in the back of a truck, then on a fake passport to the UK. And we were given housing in social housing. At that time, it's called Chalk Hill. It was probably the roughest and toughest social housing projects in northwest London. I was surrounded by the best hustlers and drug dealers. Fortunately, I didn't get into any trouble legally. But but illegally, I should say. But you are your environment and the people you surround yourself with. Unfortunately, education and a career was not an option for us. We had no idea what everyone was doing. But fortunately, one day my uncle came from Sri Lanka and gave me a set of weights. He gave me a lot of discipline, but I still got into the wrong gangs and wrong crowd. I dropped out of high school and I started working in shops, just hustling in shops in what we call shopping centers, fashion shops, hotels and bars. I think that's when I learned sales. Life was giving me a sales game from 16 to 21. I was still getting into fights. At 21, I got into a very serious fight. I got hit at the back of my head. Massive scar, you can still say. And, I got into a coma for 4 hours. I didn't see God. I didn't see any angels or anything. I just woke up lonely in my hospital bed. I thought to myself, there were no friends around me from the gangs. Even my mom and dad were not there. I was just alone in the hospital bed. I'm like, I need to change this life. So I made 3 phone calls. A lovely woman called Janet Hudson, not the singer. She said, hey, you're a good kid, actually. Why don't you do something called Access course that allows a high school diploma? Okay. So I did that. At 21, I went from a dropout. I finished the top of my college, community college. And I just done some mantras, affirmations, network and hustled. And eventually I got a scholarship for a master. In 4 years, I was at Oxford University for a PhD, from a dropout to Oxford. And then I just put my head down. I discovered a drug. And at 27, I went to Harvard as a Fulbright scholar. So I went from dropout to Harvard in 7 years. And we can talk about that journey and the things I've done. But Oxford, the PhD application took me 47 rejections till I got it. And then
so you applied 47 times to Harvard.
Yeah. No. So 3 times for my community college.
Okay.
13 times for my master's at Imperial College London. 47 times for my PhD at Oxford. Harvard, I got straight away because I had the brands by then, right?
Okay.
But here's the thing. When I finished Oxford in 2017, I went from dropout to the first one in history to win the British, European, and American Scientist Award. So this guy from the hood, literally from the hood, I proved that anything's possible if you just put your head down and focus and know your talents. Don't back your weaknesses, back your strengths, and don't understand perception is everything, right? Understand perception, everything. So when I done all this amazing achievements, I go to my professors in the West and said, hey, I need 300 million to discover 3 drugs. They said, kid, you're 27. The system doesn't work like that. Go away. So then I done my second dropout. I dropped out of the academic system. I was totally broke. I'm very happy to admit I was broke. I wrote for my own fellowships. I got the Fulbright at Harvard. I got the Embo Fellowship at Sorbonne. And I got the Daniel Turberg Fellowship in Israel in the Hebrew University. I traveled the world. I learned 3 techniques in 18 months. Came back to the UK. I said, hey, professors, check this out. Now I got all the techniques. I can discover these drugs. They're like, kid, it still doesn't work like this. Then I made 272 phone calls and applications around the world. One guy, out of sheer luck, because my CV was on a table, some guy picked it up, then recommended me to another guy, said, come to China. I packed my bags, went to China, and all my friends in the West were struggling to become, careers as scientists.
Right.
I became an associate professor by 29. I discovered those 3 drugs with my team in 18 months. And people said in the West, it'll take 30 years. So again, I challenge the system, and I realize now, from the street hustler to the PhD to Harvard, and challenge the system, if you really try and go where your talents are and your heart desires, you can do big things. Then one guy then said, hey, yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say, so what made you keep going after all these rejections? Was it the first set of rejections between your community college and Oxford that made you believe that, you know what, that really works? Was it the streets? I mean, what, or is it just you, your personality that made you just like, man, I'm pushing through. Forget what they say. I'm gonna just keep going.
You're the first person that actually said that all 3 things. It's the nurture, the nature, and it's the desire. I always tell people, go with your gut and desire and your head. If your head and gut desires it, that means something internally, you can call it God or universe or whatnot, wants you to have it, and you go after it, right?
Okay.
And I always say a rejection is a misconceived perception. Fix it and go again, right? So someone you applied, even if you ask a girl out, or even if you have an application or a PhD or a grade, some rejections happen. They conceived you wrong, or you didn't learn something. You got to learn something and go ahead. And I realized you got a lot of thick skin, particularly if you get into uncomfortable rooms. When I was a social housing kid, walked into Harvard and Oxford, there were some people, there were sons of royalty and generals and so forth. I had utter confidence because the rejections give you real thick skin and confidence, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I found myself at 28 doing all this academic stuff, and some guy came to me and said, hey, I'm a CEO of this biotech. Do you want to do some business development? And at that time, Derick, my heart and desire said, hey, let's learn about business. Let's learn about money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. I learned about money and mergers and acquisitions. I grew the European business by 80%. I was this guy, just a normal kid from a village from Northwest London. I was on a private jet, a chauffeur, doing deals, flying in and out for corporate pharma. I was pinching myself, but after a couple of seconds, I got into the work mode and I really executed. You can see me with glasses and all this shazage and all this.
The shine, all the shine, man.
So,
all the shine.
At the end of the day, you got to be humble. You got to put your work hat on and get down and work, right?
Yeah, man.
And I did that until 32. I was doing some big deals. And then the pandemic hit, right?
Okay.
Pandemic hit. And I was like, what the hell is going on? All my family's like, hey, we see the news in China. You got to get out, Pradeep. People are dying and so forth. Then I was like, hey, I can't see anything. And then all of a sudden, boom, full lockdown, stuck in my room. I was doing weights with water bottles, chin-ups on the washing line bar. And they're like, hey, all foreigners go to one hotel. I'm like, okay. I turn up, I'm the only foreigner left, right? In Suzhou and Nanjing. And I was like, what's going on here? I was still doing my VP, Vice President of Business Development and R&D as well, Associate Professor stuff. But then I realized it's lockdown. I realized, hey, who are all these big, bulky Chinese men on their laptop? And I go to them and say, hey, how can you guys get up? Because, you're locked down. He goes, they're like, huh, cigars in hand. They're like, we own factories around this place.
Wow.
We own the government, right? Like, I go, hey, I work for this company now. It's known in the area. I do business. Let me see your numbers. I was like, 400,000 a day, 200% ROI. I'm like, I'm in the wrong business again. Now the gotten head is like, I desire this now, because
Right.
even if you grew up poor or rich or whatnot, you don't know what you don't know if you don't experience it. So
Exactly.
at $10 now at the farmer level, there's a couple of more zeros now, and I'm doing 10 million or 100 million deals, right? For
Hmm.
corporate farmer. Now I see a way to learn something different. So I said to them, hey, can I help you? They're like, no. So again, here's about it. Forget the ego, forget Oxford, forget Harvard. You're When you start something new, you're nobody. So I said to them, sir, I'm gonna help you out, right? During the day, you will not believe I was doing high level corporate pharma deals. During
Okay.
the night, I went to them and I was doing translation for Amazon customer case reports, right?
Are you
Just to
serious?
win, yeah, just to win their trust, because the heart and desire was there. I never lost that hustle and ambition. Then finally, a guy said, hey, why don't you sell these toys to the UK? I took the opportunity, had no idea what I was doing. I started selling toys, learning e-commerce, my side hustle. I was loving it. My own boss, my own kind of cash flow. And then I applied what I learned from the business and corporate into the startup. Then I finally said, hey, I learned everything. I'm going back home. Came back home and I'm like, hey, to 6 months for pharma and the corporate biotech world, I said, this is all my CV. Can you give me the same VP position? They're like, kid, now you're too young and overqualified. The system in the West is crazy. As I said to my parents and my family and my friends, hey, it's been a good run. I've done my science. I discovered 3 drugs for my species. I had PhD students. I have this amazing CV. I'm going to take it all away. I'm going to just concentrate on my own business. For the last 3 years, we've done my own business. We're launching brands. We've just acquired companies around the world, and we're growing now and in e-commerce. And I'm trying to build multiple verticals across. I want to go back to biotech, raise money, and so forth. But one of my real side passions is to tell kids, young people from all minorities, all backgrounds, hey, there's this crazy bald-headed, bearded guy with no high education, a dropout that went to Harvard, a kid from social housing that done up to 1.6 billion in revenue management. In a way, I actually lost 50 pounds as well. From a weightlifter, I went to ultramarathon runner. So I try to share my wisdom. I know I'm still young, I've got a lot to learn, but I really try to give back to this world, because I really believe there's some really talented people, but the system and their thinking and their mindset limits them. And I really
So
want
what do you
people.
think? What do you think in that perspective for kids? Why do you think? Well, why? Let's first go why, then we'll talk about what. Why do you think the system limits, people's thinking? I mean, why do they try to hold people back and shackle them to a certain code? Is it because they really want workers? They want worker bees, or what? What do you think it really is?
I think it comes down to two things, right? Two things. Number one, I think the system is there. Let's talk about education system and social system, right?
Ugh,
From the 17th or 16th century, that
right.
needs you to, right, go into a factory mentality, put all the kids in one place or all the people in one kind of workplace, and then
Mhm.
sort them out and say the best go here, the best go there, right? So
Right.
we've from a young age we've been told this system of working, right? And there's no real um
Creativity.
creativity and also independence and freedom. And once you
Right.
put someone in freedom and creativity, they get really scared. Number
Mhm.
two, you got to forget the system and go after yourself and challenge it. The system is like a matrix, and you probe it, and it's like, huh? And it will just come back at you or just go away, right? So
Right.
you got to challenge the system and not make any excuses. and you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what is out there. So, I'm going to be very honest, Eric. There were times that one of my good lecturers at my community college really wanted the best for me, but he said, Pradeep, hey, how are you going to get to Oxford? And I said, hey, I'm going to take a train from Paddington Station. And there's a station here in London that there's a train to Oxford every hour. And I said, that's what I did, by the way. When I didn't have anyone on network, I actually put a suit on. I took the train. I went to Oxford, exposed myself to our environment. I went in and talked posh. I went in and shook professor's hand, these kids who are very bright. And I said to them, hey, these guys are no different from me. And that's what I encourage all these kids to do. Go to environments that are uncomfortable. Sit in cars that you don't know of. Go to houses that you cannot afford. Go to the Rolls Royce dealer. Go to the Mercedes.
Expose yourself to greatness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think Steve Harvey says sometimes you go from coach, you go to first, right?
Exactly.
And once you expose yourself, then you're like, oh shit, I can do this. And can I tell you something?
What?
Everyone is playing this game, because even when I got to Oxford and I was around the best people who've been nurtured from a young age and are rich and so forth, they were scared of Harvard. They said, hey, if you go to Harvard, there's these crazy Chinese people, American people, and all these people. They work long, hard. There's no vacations. I'm like, hey, so I was a student at Oxford. I'm like, I've done this before. I saved my scholarship money, took a plane on coach, went and stayed at the hostel and exposed myself to Harvard. I'm like, these guys are no different. There's nothing special here.
They're no
and
different.
I'm going to go to Harvard, and I went to Harvard. And then I exposed myself to business, then entrepreneurship. I walked around London, going to clubs and networking events, exposed myself to lawyers, accountants, business people. And I said, hey, these people are no different. So you really need to expose yourself to environments that are uncomfortable.
So what do you think about these kids? Like, I have my own opinion, and my son, he's 26 and he's a gamer. He's a real estate agent. He's a personal trainer, but he also plays video games. And, I pushed him to put the video games like last. So he might start playing video games at 10 o'clock at night after he's done all his work. But I think too many people are playing, or these people, kids, I'm not sure. What do you think about all these people like being distracted by videos and social media and video games and all that bullshit? I mean, what do you think about that? Is that going to help them get where they need to be, in your opinion? And I don't know if you're a gamer or not. So that's why I'm asking.
I used to be a gamer, but I stopped gaming for a very long time. But here's the thing, right? I feel that, when I see a toddler, right, and he's like going like this on the exposure, I don't know what the data says, but video games and TVs are now part of a culture of growing up, right?
Right.
And sometimes there's eye coordination or hand coordination people are picking up, and there may be a generation of these people who are highly talented. That you need this kind of data visual stuff. So you might have a generation that needs this.
Okay.
When I had students, right, I realized that these guys were processing data quicker than me because they were exposed to shorts. Shorts are quick information,
right,
and they look at data quicker. But on the long run, they're not exposed to other things like sitting down and reading and so forth. I believe there's a balance, but you can't.
I can go with that. I can see that. I can see that.
You can't be distracted, because you gotta have to actually do the work in certain fields that A, put food on the table, B, makes you better and confident as a person, and C, takes you to the goal.
Right.
I mean, who am I to say your son is not going to be a world-class gamer? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I see your position. And I do know that there's some studies that show that they are able to do things a lot quicker, a lot faster, like the gamers than us old, or I shouldn't say us, this old person. So, I'm going to tell you what I extracted out of what you shared with us so far. Have thick skin, stay focused as hell, expose yourself to greatness in every area that you can potentially expose yourself to. Listen to the God in your head and be passionate about what you believe you were put here to do. Does that pretty much summarize what I heard you say? Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And also remember, what you're put into on earth to do can change over time.
Right.
God can have different plans for you around at different times. We are exposed to people who do one thing very well, but we're never exposed to people that can do a lot of things differently very well.
Right.
Right? I always say I'm going to die the greatest polymath, but the greatest zero dropout of all time. And if I die that, if I drop out so many times at the highest level, I'm going to master so many things because that's how I grow. So, and also I want to add, take risks, take big risks, because risk appetite. Look, I'm gonna be very. I've seen the best drug dealers in the world. It's been a crazy life. Some of the best drug dealers in the world, hustlers, Nobel Prize winners as scientists, and billionaire CEOs around the world. The things that differentiate them is the risk appetite they take, right? Their ambition. Both are very closely tied to amount of pressure they can take. Then it's all this communication, all this EQ and IQ and so forth. So these are the things that actually make these people. So take those risks. Because I believe in life, if you succeed once, it allows you to take a bigger risk. Then you succeed, it allows you to take bigger risk.
Right.
So now at this moment, I'm sitting in this car. I cannot take $100 million risk because I don't have it, but I can take tens of millions of risk.
Right.
One day I might take $100 million risk. A guy can take $1 billion risk. But if you don't expose yourself and take those risks, you'll never be that guy that can grow. Because when you risk and fail, that's where the growth comes.
Well, hey, you're talking entrepreneurship, man. So I think the few of us that are meant for that, that's 100% right. For the kids that don't even know what it is, they need to follow your lead, because that is exactly being creative, taking that risk, being able to take that pressure that you talked about in tough times. And, kids on the street, they are pretty tough. So they should be able to assimilate. Now, let me ask you just last question before I'm going to let you go, because I know you rolling. You got big deals you got to finish up. So what is the aggregate? I mean, I'm going to say to you, you had to have some brilliance already. Maybe it was just undiscovered, or are you just telling us that you're a normal cat that just focused and worked really hard to discover these drugs, to get through Oxford, to get to Harvard? So, there are exceptional people. I mean, did you have to study, man? Because, I had to study to get through school. Did you have to study, or did it just come to you after you heard the professor say it?
I promised you I had to study hard. But it's funny, right? And I think IQ and EQ, and I was a professor, I had student, is totally, and as corporate farmer, totally understated. There's two forms of IQ that people don't know or test, right? Mm-hmm. There's the IQ that is Western based, and then there's IQ that's non-verbal, pattern recognition, and so forth. Mm-hmm. Normally, people, I'm average or just about average on the IQ Western based, verbal, reading, and so forth, right? Right. Normally, the system's designed for that. But if you see the real hustlers and the winners, there's the non-verbal side, how you recognize awareness, how do you recognize patterns, and you get those. Those stuff I'm very off the chart with, right? Got you. But I'm going to be very honest. But I struggle with studying, and I tell people I hate to study, but I love to learn. Mm-hmm. And that you have to, the IQ, there's a lot of EQ because of the streets and London. I learned a lot of emotional energy. Uh-huh. And I'm going to be one more thing, SQ, spiritual awareness. Hey, be aware. I like it. I always say knowledge and intelligence is one thing, but awareness of the environment. The greatest people I've seen who are geniuses far more than me, they can walk into a room, Derick, and they don't know the data, they don't know the people, they have no idea what's going on, but they have a gut feeling and they're just aware of the room. I love it. And work on that. So all those things have to be combined for you to be successful. All right, man. So tell me, before you head out, tell me how you want people to connect with you. I have all your socials, but what's the one you want them to connect with? So it's Pradeep Kumar Sasidharan, my whole name, and LinkedIn, and PK Sasidharan Instagram. But connect, I'm here to help and serve. Even if I take my time, if there's a kid or a guy or a woman or whatever, anywhere in America or the world, sees your podcast, message me, and I'm here for you guys. All right. I might be a bit delayed, but I always try to message back and help you guys. Excellent, brother. I will post your access links so that people can get to you easy. And I wish you much success on your deal. Good luck. If it doesn't go, I know you're gonna hustle it down anyway. So it's yours, baby. Just go get it. The greatest salesman already know the closing's done.
Hey, absolutely, man. Be well, man. Thank you so much. All right, God bless.